This is how I make fluffy pancakes. I like these more than the traditional recipes since these are less dense and more cakey. They do take a little bit more time, but I think it's worth it. To start off, I'm taking 2 egg yolks and putting them into a bowl. The whites are added to the bowl for the mixer, which I will show in a second. I added 2 cups of whole milk. You can switch this out with buttermilk if you want, but I like the flavor of milk better. Also, I don't feel like buying buttermilk just for this recipe. It never gets any use otherwise. I mixed up the wet ingredients and started adding the dry ingredients directly into it. If you want, you can mix the dry ingredients separately and then add the dry ingredients into the wet mixture. But I don't think that makes a major difference. I added 2 cups of all-purpose flour. You can add cake flour as well. That will just make the cake softer and more tender. For the rise, I added a teaspoon of baking soda and a teaspoon of baking powder. I think adding both of them gives a better rise, especially if you are adding buttermilk. The acid in the buttermilk reacts with the baking soda and it creates a lot of bubbles. But adding the baking soda into milk also works. I also added a teaspoon of vanilla essence. Now just mix everything together. I forgot to add milk powder, so I'm adding it now. I added about 6 tablespoons. I think this adds a lot more richness and flavor to the final dish, but this is optional. Now to the egg whites. It's really hard to film inside this mixer, but I have the egg whites and the sugar in there. I have about 3 tablespoons of sugar. I mix this until hard peaks, basically this consistency. Then gradually add the whites into the batter and fold the mixture together. You don't want to deflate a lot of the bubbles in the egg whites, so do it carefully. Now it's time for cooking. If you want a super even finish on your pancakes, then don't add any butter or oil into the pan. Just add the batter and cook on the dry surface. You can also use a griddle, one of those electric ones, but I'm just using a frying pan. Since these are so fluffy and tall, they take a little longer than regular pancakes. So cook on low-medium heat for a few minutes and then check underneath if they're light brown. If they're not, cook for a few more minutes and keep checking. Once cooked, carefully flip them over and do the same on the other side. Then check underneath if they're light brown. Once cooked, plate them and add a little bit of butter on top and a bunch of maple syrup. I've never been a huge fan of regular pancakes, but I actually like these. This is a treat when I make them about once a month. So thank you for watching and see you next time.